Hello and welcome to this week's edition of BS with AJ. This week I'm going to be showing you how to make an ingrained cutting board using cherry wood and some white oak. Alright, we're starting with our pieces of white oak and cherry, roughly cut to about 2 foot, just because that's what I had laying around. What we're going to do first is run them through the planer. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and rip them down to 2 1/8 inch. I accounted for an extra 1/8 inch to make sure that we had enough to sand them down smooth. Alright, now that you have all your pieces cut, go ahead and put them in the order that you want to. I've went with cherry, white oak, and so on and so forth. All the pieces we ended up cutting ended up being about 11 1/4 inches wide once we put them up on end. And what we're going to do now is take a rag and go ahead and wipe off all the dust and start gluing it up and clamping it real good and let it set overnight. Alright, now that we've successfully used every clamp that I could possibly find in the shop to make sure we had no gaps, what you need to do is go ahead and let this set for 24 hours and then come back to it and we're going to cut it down. Alright, we've let this set for 24 hours and now what we're going to do is go ahead and run it through the planer again to get it all flat and smooth. Alright, I've went ahead and planed this all down and got it pretty well smooth. I went ahead and squared up the edges. And what I'm going to do is set the fence on the table saw to 2 1/4 inches and cut strips this way. Then I'm going to go ahead and flip them up, end grain facing up, and then I'm going to glue them all together. Alright, now that it's been 24 hours and this glue has had time to set up again, what we're going to do is go ahead and run it through the planer again. Alright, now that we've run it through the planer, we got it down pretty well smooth, but we're going to go ahead and take a belt sander and run across the whole surface on all sides. Alright, now that we've got it all sanded down smooth, we're going to go ahead and coat it with a very liberal amount of mineral oil. Food grade mineral oil specifically, because you're going to be using this as a cutting board, obviously. To the right here I've got a board with several nails sticking up out of it. I've went ahead and smoothed down all the tips of them so it doesn't scar our cutting board. And the reason I'm doing this, when I go ahead and coat it, I can do both sides at once. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a lot on there and let it soak overnight. And then I'll come back tomorrow and I'll wipe off all the excess, and then I'll do another coat and let it soak overnight as well, and then it should be good and sealed at that point. Alright, well, we let it soak overnight and we came in and wiped off all the excess and let it set the rest of the day. I started at 7 o'clock this morning wiping it off, and I let it set, and it's 8 o'clock tonight. It's had 12 hours to dry out, and what we're going to do is put another coat on here, a real thick coat, and let it set for another couple hours. We'll wipe off the excess and let it dry for about 24 hours. Alright, now this final coat's had 24 hours to dry out. It's ready to go. Now you can either leave it just like it is, like a regular cutting board, or you can put rubber feet on the bottom of it so it doesn't slide around when you're cutting. Hope you enjoyed this week's project. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. If you have any good ideas for other projects that you'd like to see, leave me a comment and I'll get to it. Consider supporting us on Patreon so we can do bigger and better projects.